In the beginning, music was void and without bottom. The gods sent forth lords of the low frequencies, Clarke, Pastorius, Jamerson, and Graham, to name a few. The lords were given the command to make disciples and teach them the ways of keeping a groove, keeping it in the pocket, and driving a song. These disciples were to then spread the good news and teachings of the low frequencies as written in the book of F, chapter 1, verse 440. Now we are one. We are a nation. We are citizens of Bass Nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of Bass Nation of the universe and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under a groove, with EA, for all. You're listening to Standing Radio.
Put your bass on. T.O.B. Put your bass on.
Put your hands up in the sky and wave it like you just don't care. Come on, put your hands up in the sky and wave it like you just don't care.
Put your bass on. Put your bass on.
Okay, everyone out there in Radio Land, this is Kelvin Sims Sr., and you're listening to Stanley Radio / Bass Nation. Check out my new theme song. My guy Teo Bemka made that for me. So we have a little music when we're talking about bass and doing all the other neat things that we do here. But everyone knows, going out on our podcast has been listened by everybody across the whole world now, getting people in Italy, Japan, and all over. But special night tonight, we're going to have Stanley's drummer, Michael Mitchell. I'm excited. I'm nervous when this happens. We're going to bring Mike on in just a moment. But I got to tell you folks this, if you never have seen Stanley Clarke play live, that's an injustice. And if you have not seen him play with Michael Mitchell, that's a double injustice. So it's two injustices that you may be, committing here by not listening and checking these things out. So we're going to have an in-depth interview with Michael, asking him questions, talking to him, and we're going to play music from the album Up. He's featured on the album. Now, I've been telling everyone about the show all ahead of time and getting everyone ready for it. But we don't have to keep doing that. We're going to go ahead and see if we can get Michael on the line with us right now. So let's see if we can get him here. Michael, can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
It is going wonderful. I'm excited. I want to first thank you for coming on the show, okay? It's really special to have you on Stanley Radio. And, just that the people know a lot about you.
No, it's great. I appreciate you guys inviting me to be one of your guests. I really, really do.
Well, we're going to definitely have some fun this evening, but we're going to get started with something interesting, okay? Now,
all right.
I've been telling people about you, after I saw the show. I've seen Stanley with a million different drummers over the years, and I said, well, you got to hear this guy, Mike. Yes, I'm giving you a big compliment here. And they were asking me, I told them you were like 20 years old. The first thing I have to know, what started your interest in drumming? I mean, you got to give us this background story with yourself. What started you on this path?
I started playing drums too. I started playing drums too, and I grew up in the church. My grandfather, my mother's father, is a pastor. I have a grandfather that's a bishop. I grew up in church. I have an aunt that plays organ. I have aunts that sing. I have a grandmother that sings. I have another aunt that plays piano. I came from a really musical family. I have a couple cousins that play the drums. I'm an only child, so being an only child, I would always get pinned up with my cousins and other families since I didn't have any brothers or sisters. And my cousins played drums actually, and I just kind of from birth I was always around percussion, tambourines, drum set, all of that. And about a couple years of that, once I hit 2 or 3, I started really kind of experimenting with learning the instrument, unconsciously, of course. But I was just drawn to it at a really, really early age, and then I was hooked after that. Something I could do, something I could just be as bombastic as possible and as finesse as possible all at the same time. I found a huge love and respect for the instrument.
Well, that's interesting. You just answered the second question. I wanted people to learn some background stuff on you because I know everybody picks up and listens to the podcast we have here. They go back on their own leisure, and I wanted them to get some background information. But you have to tell me this. The main question I was asked by a lot of people, they wanted to know, how did you get your gig with Stanley Clarke? You got to give us this story. Come on with it.
It's actually a really, really hilarious story. And it's simple, and it's a very current kind of situation. He saw some videos of me on YouTube, and that was it. Actually, that's it.
Seriously? You mean you just had some videos on YouTube and he saw this?
Yeah, it was a gig that I did in Los Angeles. It was an event that I played for in Los Angeles that someone videotaped and put on the internet. And somehow he got a hold of that specific clip when I was playing in LA. It was a few years ago. I might have been like 17 or 18 at the time. But yeah, it's really funny. He just I think he saw that video and then he typed in like world's best drummer under 22 or 21 or something, and me and some other dudes came up on the search list. But I guess I was the guy that he took the most liking to. And after that, he flew me out to his house in California, and we just kind of to jam and get a feel of each other if the styles or were cohesive with each other. And everything worked out. He really loved the way I played. He loved my energy. And he loved my spirit. And that was 2 years ago.
Well, you got to tell me this. Now that would have been a dream come true for me. So, how familiar were you?
No, it was literally the most ridiculous thing ever. I went to a performing arts high school, and I was actually I just finished my jazz performance class, and I was walking in the middle of walking to my next class before I ended the day. And a mutual friend of mine and Stan's is Bobby Sparks, who played in the Clarke Band for some years. A great keyboard player from Dallas. He which just happened to have known me. He's known me since I was a baby. Mm-hmm. And he's played with Marcus Miller. He's played with Prince. Like he's the guy. He's from Dallas, and he just happened to know me from birth. And they called Bobby, either Stanley or maybe Travis, his engineer, called Bobby to see if he knew me. And Bobby, was just like, yeah, like I know this kid, like I know his whole family, like yeah, this is, and so Bobby actually called me while I was in class, in school, headed to my next class, and then while I was in my next class, literally like maybe 20 minutes or half an hour later. I got the call from Stan's management, and yeah, it was right before prom. I remember that.
Well, you were telling me that story right before prom. Now tell me, when you got that call, he said, "I want you to come out." Now, did you do a happy dance? What did you do? Come on.
I'm a really laid back person at most times. I'm usually a pretty laid back person. I was just in like beyond disbelief. Like I was. This is so random. I was, why is this happening right now? Like out of all things, out of all people, out of all times, it was just so many factors that I didn't understand. But I've just noticed if you, and this goes for anything or anyone who loves what they do, you have to, or wants to be great at something that they love doing. You have to be 100%. You have to be 100% into whatever that you're doing, and not focus on the end result. You just have to continuously work at whatever you want to work for, just for the sake of you love it so much you can't not do it. You know what I mean? So, and people take notice of that. And as you're in your zone, I've noticed as you're in your zone and you're trying to create what you want to create and make the name that you want to make, you're not focused on who's paying attention to you, because you're so into your zone. And people see that, and they really appreciate the zeal you have for whatever that you're trying to go for, whether it be a great musician or a great painter, a great vocalist, a great lawyer. People see that you're interested and really, really, really all for the art and just the love of doing it, just because you love it so much. And people pay attention to that, and they're drawn to it. I've noticed. It's just an honest way of approaching things, and people enjoy that. People take notice of that, and they really, really like that, and they want a piece of it. And they want you to be a part of whatever they have, because they feel like you are a specific unit, a very special person that has whatever qualities that you specifically have, and they love that. And so they want you to add that to their, to whatever their situation is. And that was the case with Dan. He saw some things that he liked, and he was like, "Don't change anything, just play it on my music."
Well,
which is great.
That was a lot of wisdom. But weren't you a little bit nervous when you went to his home to jam with him?
No, I was. Well, see, it's weird. Like this guy lives in a canyon, like in some mountains in California.
Right.
And I was in LA doing some other things, like on a tour, and I had some time off, and we made arrangements for me to go up to his house and to jam out. But it was it was late at night. So coming from the USC campus, driving up an hour into a place I have no idea where I'm going, and then all of a sudden I see all these trees, I see coyotes, I see random deer. I have no idea what's happening right now. So I was more apprehensive about the trip versus the actual physical contact between me and Stan.
Okay, I was just curious about that. Now, okay, so how did the jam session go in your mind? Were you like, I know you said you're getting your zone. Did you just think, I hope I did well, or you just said, yeah, I know I nailed it?
It was a little bit of both. I know it was a little bit of both. Just because when I play with people that I haven't played with ever before, it's always a little uncomfortable, and it's hard to fill out things for the first time. But at the same time, I also have a certain level of musicianship where I still am able to communicate well, even if it's the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little like half and half. Like I knew I've played way better, prior to, but at the same time I knew I made a good connection. I didn't know how strong of a connection, but I knew it was relatively okay. Because he would play and he would smile and he would, what I mean. So it wasn't a thing of whether I knew he didn't like me. I knew it was he felt the vibe of where I could go, but it was also at the same time I was just the first time playing with someone. It's always uncomfortable.
Right.
So, but it was still like all in all, I still felt overall about the situation. I felt really, really great. Going back to my hotel, I felt really, really great.
So you must have been really familiar with Stanley's music prior to getting that call.
Yes, yeah, I am. I was very, very, very familiar with the music that he's been playing. His prior drummer, Ronald Bruner, is a really, really close friend of mine. and I would always see Stan come to Dallas every time, just because that. And that's actually a funny thing. It's actually that way I found out about Stanley Clarke was because of Ronald Bruner as a young kid, and I would be at every show. I was every show in the Dallas area. I was there from age 13 to 17. So seeing his show a few different times, and I was a little bit familiar with the music. But more so when I went to his house and just to play with him, we didn't play many of his tunes. We just kind of played some cool electric stuff, some bluesy electric stuff, and some straight ahead swing stuff on his upright. And just to get a feel of how I could stretch.
Well, you just made me think of something. Is Ronald also from Texas?
No, Ronald's actually from Los Angeles.
Okay.
And funny thing is, Bobby Sparks he's a key player in me meeting him. I did a. Are you familiar with Bernard Wright?
Oh, I was just playing. Yes.
With Shaka Khan and Marcus Miller.
Yes, we're playing his music just this weekend. Yes.
Yeah, he's incredible. He lives in Dallas, and he's been living in Dallas for a number of years. And Bobby Sparks, Bernard Wright, and I, when I was like, I may have been 9 or 10. I think I may have been 10 years old. We did a recording session, and Bobby later brought Ronald in for another project in the same studio and showed him some of those tracks with that trio of Bobby, Bernard, and I. But that was it was still old at that point. At that point, I might have been 12 years old when that exchange happened. But Ron heard the recording and called me while they were in a recording session. I remember being like 12. I think I was 12 or 13, and it was 4 a.m. on a Tuesday. I had school. I was still like in the 7th grade.
Whoa.
And he called me at like 3 or 4 a.m. just to tell me that he really, really enjoys my playing and he wants to stay connected. And I was, at that time I had just found out about him. I started, it opened up a whole other world, a whole different world for, just the way drummers could play. And for him to call me and for me to be that young, it was that was the biggest impression I've ever had from a drum hero ever. That was the biggest for someone, and that's really inconvenient. I know no one should call anyone at 3 or 4 a.m. for anything ever, even if there's a fire. But for him, at the time I was 12 or 13. He was my hero at the time, and he enjoyed my playing, and it was a really, really humbling experience to hear someone that I had so much respect for give me a compliment at the oddest times.
That is really something.
And, so ever since I was 12 or 13, me and Ronald have been really, really close. He's like a big brother figure. He's mentored me in the drum industry as far as the personnel and endorsements and things like. He's helped facilitate me, and he definitely he was a key player in my life as far as just like the turning page of like opening another world of the way to express yourself. Not necessarily the style he does it, but he had a really peculiar style and a really outlandish style, and that was the base point for how I play drums today. I come from that class, like the Ronald Bruner class, Billy Cobham, Lenny White, Dennis Chambers. I would say that I'm definitely part of that lineage of playing, just because those are my set of heroes that I've studied, for years and years and years. And for someone to call me of that caliber, I was in shock. Like, it was nothing I could say.
Well,
and I was so tired I couldn't even talk to him. I think I was blurring all of my words.
Well, that's amazing. Now, what I noticed on the Up album, which you are featured on a track, you're on 2 tracks there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, when I looked at this, you are in great company as far as drummers. You're on there with legends, dude. I mean, John Robinson, probably the most heard drummer in the world. Stuart Copeland, Jerry Brown. You're a drummer. It's like the world is saying he's on there with these great guys, even though they're playing on different tracks. you're in that same company or thought of as equally on that level. Now, does sometimes that make you want to pinch yourself a little bit?
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. But at the same time, as a child, you know, I knew I wanted to be a musician and be in the entertainment business really, really early. Like, you know, 6 or 7, I was dead set. Like, I'm going to play drums and I'm going to make a living at making great music for people to take in. And I made that decision that early, and I set these goals, these imaginary goals. You know, as a kid, you want to be a firefighter, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a kid, I wanted to be Superman and a drummer. You know what I mean? And as a kid, you know, I would make all of these imaginary goals that I knew I didn't even know if they were realistic. I just knew I wanted them to happen at some point. And I made, you know, it's really weird. Like, I said it as a young kid. I was like, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And at an early age, you know, 11 or 12, things that I said that I wanted to happen at 7, 8, and 9 started happening. You know, and every, you know, even though, like, now, even right now, like, I'm on this Up album with all these amazing players. I pinch myself and, like, this is super ridiculous that I'm doing this. And then at the same time, I tap into reality. Like, I said that I was going to do this by this time, and it's happening. So, like, at this point, I'm just ready for the future. I'm ready to turn 30. I just turned 20 last month. I'm ready to turn 30 now. I'm ready to turn 50.
Don't rush to 50.
I'm just aware that the older I get, the greater opportunities that I'm going to be presented with. So I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited for the times to change. I'm really excited to see new things happening. So I'm not, you know, a lot of young guys are afraid of getting old, and I'm not at all.
Whoa.
I'm not at all.
I'm afraid of that. But I got a question for you. So the listeners will know, people will ask a lot of questions. When is your birth date, actually?
November 12th, 1994.
And you know,
3 in the morning.
And I'm going to tell you something.
3:37 in the morning, actually. 3:37 in the morning, November 12th, 1994.
Boy, you are a detailed kind of a guy. And I'm going to tell you what I was impressed about you, not just your playing. You had come to me and you said, yes, sir. I said, what is this dude saying yes, sir to me? Do I look this old? Then I realized, wait a minute, my son is 20 years old. You guys are the same age. And I said, oh, okay. But tell me, I guess it's from your upbringing, how you can stay grounded, because, you know, you seem to be very much in control. You have a lot of maturity. I'm giving you a compliment. I'm sincerely saying this, and that's what impressed me. So, you know, my wife and I had a conversation about you after you left the diner that night. And I said, whoa.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I'm thinking, I said, but if that was me, I'd have just been going crazy, just the idea of hanging with Stanley Clarke. So how do you handle all of this? Seriously, how do you handle this?
Well, I was raised by a single parent. You know, it was just me and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was, 10 or 11, maybe, 9, 10, 11. Ever since then, it's just been me and my mother. And I learned at an early age that, you got to mature. I knew my morals, and my grandfather taught me this: if you love anything or anybody, you will take care of them. And I love playing music. I'm going to take care of whatever houses that, the business end, the maturity end, the playing end. Anybody that that I really, really love, I'm going to take care of them. So, like, it was just me and my mom. The morals from me wanting to step up and be, even as a little kid, taking out the trash or doing, doing a yard or anything that I needed to do for her. It was just that mentality that just molded everything for me. So, I'm raised in the South. I'm born and raised, from Texas. And southern hospitality. If I see an older gentleman, I will call him, yes sir. If I see an older lady, I will, yes ma'am. I would say that to my grandparents, and I would want someone else to say that to my grandparents. And I know I'm going to be talking and dealing with parents and grandparents, so I would also want to be responsible for being respectful you know.
Okay, but make me a promise, Michael. Next time we see each other, don't say the yes sir to me. It makes me feel older. Even though I'm old enough to be your dad. Yes, I am. But we have a compliment.
No, it's all good. No worries.
Okay,
No worries. I got you.
we got a compliment on the message board. It says 1166 says that you are an off-the-chain drummer. So we're going to go, before we start the music now, we got to get the music in here, but we're going to see if we have a caller here. Caller, welcome to the show. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with tonight?
This is Kimberly.
Hello, Kimberly.
Mike, I had the pleasure of recently seeing you when you were here in St. Louis, and I was just in absolute awe of you. I just think you are so fantastic, and you're
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And you're such a very nice young man, and I wish you all the best in the world. I really do.
Thank you.
I'm very proud of you. My brother is a drummer. I know how hard it can be, but you just make it look so flawless and so easy. So I just want to stand up and applaud you. I think you're the best. I really do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's really cool. I appreciate that.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Kimberly. Now, we're going to talk about music now, okay? Now, there's actually another comment coming in from Smooth Jazz Guitarist. He says, actually listening to him on YouTube playing with Stanley in St. Louis. He says he's actually looking at you while he's, on YouTube. He's looking at you while he's listening to the show now, and he says great stuff. Technology is just so wonderful. In my day, Michael, we didn't have the internet. So now you're playing on track number 4 and number 9, and you're featured. And that's a heavy load on Brazilian Love Affair. And I'm a George Duke fan, okay? I am very critical of drummers because I play bass. I feel...
Of course.
Because the first person that I look for in the band, everyone else can be not on it, but at least if the drummer and myself are locked in, we can salvage some things. And that's actually how I feel. Everyone else is adding...
No, I agree. I agree 100% with you. I agree 100% with you.
Right, and that's the main thing that I look for. And so you're being featured on this George Duke tune. And coming up, there's a great drummer I knew. His name was John Cashmere. And I said, how did you get to be so good? He said, well, as a kid, I listened to all the Stanley Clarke stuff. He seemed to have all the good drummers on there. And so that's how it goes. That's how it goes together. So Brazilian Love Affair. What are your thoughts about that tune? And I guess your solo on there. How do you feel about that? Are you totally pleased at what you did and how it came out?
Yeah, I'm 100% pleased at everything, at how it came out. It sounds different than what I expected it to, but I'm 100% pleased. It was some of those parts. It's funny, it's really awesome as a drummer, being as young as I am and still mentally wanting to push myself as far as I can possibly go. Playing with Stan, being in the studio with him, he's played with so many drummers. He's played with Dennis Chambers, played with Billy Cobham, played with Tony Williams, and he has these. They're almost imaginary expectations of drum parts, and it's almost imaginary expectations of how intricate he wants certain parts of the song to be with, as far as the drums are concerned. And so he would, during the session, he would beatbox drum fills to me, and tell me can you play that right there, and then everything else just go crazy there. But this specific section, could you play some 84th notes with your double kick drum for 16 bars, please?
16. now that is insane.
Yeah. And it's at that point, I'm on the clock, so I just gotta take it with a grain of salt and just say, yeah, okay, I'll do that for you.
So you got to tell me. I've always wondered. Let the listening audience get a vision. George Duke once told me when they rehearsed before they go out on tour, Stanley would be the one who would conduct the rehearsals. Now, is he really a hard taskmaster? I mean, is he really we're going to work this out sun up to sundown?
Yeah. every tour that we've done, every run that we've had to prepare for with a different band, we've rehearsed and we learn things part by part. We dissect the tune, and then we play everything down, and we learn all the parts that need. We learn everything. We dissect this. That's just the way it is. Everybody has to know everybody's tune. And some instances, he'll leave rehearsals up to me now. If he's getting too busy with his schedule, and we still have to rehearse the band, he'll not even be in the rehearsal space, and I'm having to teach the keyboard players their part for song by part by part, song by song, and that's definitely been a learning tool for me as far as learning as being a band leader. Because I'm just now getting into being a band leader. Having a new band and having my own projects and things like that. I've seen how he conducts his band to get the level of excellence that he expects. And I've definitely taken all of that. Just watching him, how he operates and how he talks and how he deals with different musicians to bring the best out of them for that project. He has definitely been a key teacher for me to as learning band leader skills.
Great. That's one. If you got another question, Mike, on the message board, how do you mentally prepare for a show?
I drink water every day, all my life, and I stretch. I stretch before every show. I stretch my wrists, I stretch my arms, I stretch my legs, I stretch my back, and I listen to the opposite of the music that I'm about to prepare for. So if I'm about to play with Stan, I may listen to some death metal or some Jay Dilla music, just to have a complete fresh mindset walking onto the stage. Every night's new. We want to do something new. So I don't ever want to listen to to our music before I play, or because I don't want to compare. I don't want to necessarily consciously compare, what I'm currently playing versus what I just played, the night or before. But I want to make sure that all my limbs are able to do what they normally do and have them warm. But mentally, I'll listen to some music. I take a shot of orange juice right before I hit the drums, like seconds. I chug a little bottle of Tropicana orange juice right before I get on the drums, and I play the show.
But do you ever? I've read stories, Mike, about musicians. Some of them are nervous right before they come on, or right when they hit the stage. Do you ever have any kind of jitters or anything like that?
No. I've been playing since I was 2, and then I've been doing gigs in front of people since I was 8. So now it's even if I'm going to play with, I may be playing with Herbie, I may be playing with Stanley, I may be playing with Christian McBride. At the end of the day, I'm here because they want me to be here. So just relax and do whatever you do, and things will flow.
Okay, there's another question coming in. Says also wondering how he prepares for studio work, and what are the pressures in that space. So they're asking how you prepare for the studio. Are there any pressures that you feel that are there for you?
No, not at all. Actually, I'm probably the weirdest studio musician ever, because my mindset is I'm making history, basically. This is a marker from when I was 20. I was 18 here. I was 16 here. I was 30 here. And the way I expressed at that time is not going to be the same forever. So obviously, I want to do my best. I want to give my all for the session. But as far as what I choose to play and what I just don't want to play, I just leave that up to the space and when we're creating and the spur of the moment. Just because it's history. It's just, I either overplayed here when he was 20, and then once he was 40, he was way better, or he was really musical when he was young, and it furthered on as he got older. I'm really young, so I'm still working on my own history book. So
you're writing your history.
Whether I go down in flames on this record or not, it was here. And the next time it'll be better. The next time it'll be better as time progresses. It'll be greater.
Okay. This is what we're going to do, Michael. I'm going to get ready to play. I'm going to mute you for a moment when I play Brazilian Love Affair. So could you set up this song? Tell everybody what's something that would be interesting that they may not know, or maybe it's something that happened in studio or something. It was a wow moment with this particular tune. What do you think?
Okay, there's a part right before my drum solo where there's a build up and I'm playing a really fast double bass pattern. That was the imaginary drum part that that Stan was telling me to play at that time, and I had to do that like 5 times. To be honest, to be honest, I had to play it. Well, not 5. It wasn't 5 times, but maybe 4 times.
Maybe 4. But see,
yeah.
I heard that part. I was wondering if that was real. I said maybe that's a drum machine. That's really you.
No, it's definitely real. Because at that time, my stamina for playing drums wasn't as strong as it is now. So I can play that part live now with no problem. But at the time, I think I was 18 at the time when we recorded the album, and my legs were just noodles at that session. I was like, man, this guy is insane, but I have to do this. He's telling me to do it. He's paying me to do this.
I mean,
so
that is cool.
That part was insane for me. But that's one of my favorite parts on the album, on that song. So it worked out.
I mean, that was a great setup for the tune. Okay, folks, song dedicated to the late great George Duke, who we miss very, very much. Brazilian Love Affair. We're going to be back with Michael in a few moments. Now, listen, right before a solo, I don't know if he's playing ultra fast on the bass pedals. I thought it was a drum machine. He has corrected me. The history will be written right now that this is live. This is no sampling. So here we go, folks, right now with Brazilian Love Affair. that I can say is wow. Very, very impressive, Mike. I mean, I love it. I love it. I love it. But you got another question coming in, Mike. Got to get this one to you. Now, a listener wants to know, is putting you on the spot a little bit. Who are some of your favorite top 5 Stanley drummers? I know you're going to say Ronald Bruner Jr., right?
Yeah, I definitely would say that. Ron definitely. I love Ronald. I love Lenny White. I love Jack DeJohnette. I love Dennis Chambers, and I love Billy Cobham. Those are my 5 drummers for him. Or those are my favorite. I can't do 5. I have to have 6. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's one person that's very, very crucial. His name is Tony Williams, and he played with Lifetime. Stan played with Tony's Lifetime, and that was an amazing connection that I've seen him have with drummers, and he's a huge influence. So it's definitely those 6. Those are my top 6 of Stan's drummers.
Okay, now this is what I got to know as a bass player. I know why I'm one of your favorites, even though you never heard me. Okay, I know I am, but back to reality. Okay, back to reality. Now, I've been a Stanley Clarke fan ever since I was maybe about 12 or 13 years of age. Okay, and I'm an old dude, and I have my favorite tunes, and I'll tell everybody what my favorites are. Now, when I saw you in concert, Stanley opened up with School Days, and I asked him about it, and that was just blew me. He never does that. So I've heard a bunch of drummers who've played School Days. You did a heck of a job. But what is the Stanley song that is, if it's called out, it's on that set list, it gets an extra smile on your face? What would that tune be?
The extra. Do I have a really, really, really long drum solo where I play by myself, or is it something a little bit shorter?
Mm-hmm.
It was something a little bit shorter?
Well, I'm saying, what song is it that when Stanley says play it, you really enjoy that one just a little bit better. Like a favorite song you like performing.
I love playing No Mystery.
I kind of figured that.
I love playing No Mystery. Just because that song is so open. We'll play really crazy swing over it. We'll play free jazz over it. We'll play hip hop over it. We'll play funk over it. Like it goes. We'll play Latin over it. It can go so many different places. That's definitely one of my favorite tunes that we play in our cellars. Another one is that's really, really cool is from the latest album. It's called Last Train of Sanity.
Mm-hmm.
That one's really, really cool for us to play because I have to play really, really fast drum parts, so that's always a blast for me to play. And another tune for me that's really, really fun is an electric tune that he has. It's called Goodbye Pork Pie Hat.
You like playing that one? I'm surprised.
Yeah, that song is really, really fun.
Oh, okay. Now, when it comes, I know as a musician, there's a difference between listening and playing. Now, if you're going to dig out some dust off the old Stanley Clarke CDs, what is one of your favorite tunes to listen to? Because you're listening to a different drummer, a different band that you're not a part of. What's one? You have a separate one that's one of your favorites to listen to?
Yes. I believe it's from the School Days album, actually. It's a song with Billy Cobham called Life is Just a Game.
Oh, that song is flying ultra fast. That is off the chain.
That song is ridiculous to me. I love that too.
Okay. Now, I know we're only going to keep you here for an hour. And, folks, I want to especially, again, thank you for coming in. Later down the line when you're doing bigger things, hope you grace my little presence and come back again. But I want you to set up the next song you're on. It's called Gotham City. What is this song even about? Is it like the Gotham City from the comics? Can you give us some insight on that tune?
This tune is basically he wanted it to be as frantic and as groovy as possible at the same time. So when we were recording this track, he told me he wanted me to set the song up, and he wanted me to play through the whole melody. Anytime that there was a melody, just play through it, just play through the whole melody, and then once it gets to solos, kind of help build the solo. Because the melody is it's a very notated composition. So he wanted me to play the drums over it just to add to the intensity of the notation. And so that was actually that was a really fun track to play over. It had some really cool changes. But yeah, that was a tune that he just like, here to here, play everything that you know, and here to here, hold it back and build it up, and then here to here, do it again and play everything you know, and then here to here, this is the end of the song. Like that was the process.
Okay, now you just made me think of something. Since I'm a parent, doesn't your family worry about you just a little bit when you're out on the road, when you're like 18, where they just like, oh, Mike is all right?
My grandmother did. My grandmother worried a little bit. My mom, I was touring before I was 18. I started touring when I was 15 or 16, and I think I was 15 or something. But she trusts me. She knows that she's installed whatever parenting skills that are crucial / detrimental to any key moments in my growing up, young adulthood. So she's never worried. But it was always my grandmother. She's always been the worry. So,
okay.
The worrisome family member.
Well, you know what? That is true, because as a parent, you do worry. And that's a comment that I had made. I said to myself, he's going to be all right. I really did say that. So now, Gotham City folks, Mike has already told us what the deal is. I should have asked you, Mike, do you prefer Mike or Michael? What do you prefer?
I don't care. I don't care. Whatever's easy. It's really funny. Most males call me Mike, and I've noticed most females call me Michael. So you can take that however you'd like to take it, but I don't mind either way. It's Mike and Michael. I have no problem. Or Black Dynamite. It doesn't matter.
Okay, but what's cool about what you said, which I didn't know, that Stanley gave you that freedom just to cut loose, hold back here, and that's some great insight, folks. So when you're listening to this, keep that in mind. So we're going to do this another time. We're going to play right now Gotham City, and we'll be back with more of Mike Mitchell. Okay, folks. That was Gotham City. I mean, what more can I say? It speaks for itself. But my man, Mike, I got to ask you a couple questions. I want you to name drop. Now, you mentioned some names. Can you give us an idea? We want to peek into the world of Mike Mitchell. Are there any other people that we may know of that you've performed with or worked with?
Yeah. Let's see. I've played. Let's see. Sheesh. Okay. Are you familiar with the Robert Glasper Experiment?
No, I've only heard, not listened to it, but go ahead.
Yeah, I've worked with the Robert Glasper Experiment. I've worked with Derek Hyde, which is the bass player for his own separate project, which he also played with Terrence Blanchard, which I've also worked with Terrence Blanchard as well.
So you've been working with Terrence Blanchard. This is awesome, dude.
One. At a it was once. I was a lot younger. But Terrence Blanchard, I played with Herbie Hancock. I played with Terrell Stafford. I played with Chris McBride, toured with Chris McBride. I toured with Gerald Clayton. I played with Layla Hathaway. It's just a bunch of random jazz.
That's awesome, though.
I toured with Chrisette Michelle for a number of years when I was 17, for a couple of years, or for a year or two.
Well, tell me this: what do you do when you're touring? When you're 17? I mean, do you do it when you're out of school, or how do you do that?
No, I was in and out of class all the time. I was very, very into it. I had a lot of court cases because of my absences. Not because I was just really skipping school. I would just go out and play gigs with people. From being a sophomore on up through graduation, to and through graduation. But I also went to a performing arts high school. And so, later on down the line, towards my junior or senior year, they were a lot more lenient and graceful as far as giving me time off to tour, because I was in the music department. So it was technically, the way they presented it up to the Dallas School Board, it was technically an educational and like a away from school educational experience. So technically, it's still part of the curriculum, and he's going to be counted there. Like, he counted for being school activity, so he can leave.
Okay, so that's how it was done. I was just curious about that. Now, we always play a game on some of my past interviews. I'm going to drop a name. I want you to tell me in one sentence what your thoughts are, okay?
Okay.
It's pretty easy. So the first thing I'm going to say is going to be Stanley Clarke. What would you say in one sentence?
Virtuoso.
Okay.
One word, just virtuoso.
Okay. Tony Williams.
Innovator. He's an innovator. Tony Williams is one of the biggest innovators.
Okay, Stuart Copeland.
Stuart Copeland, the first thing that comes to my head is he's a powerhouse. He's a powerhouse drummer.
Okay, and Iron Man. Yes, I did say Iron Man. What did you say about him?
Iron Man?
Yes.
The Marvel character?
Yes.
Overrated. I don't really like the color scheme that he has on his robot. Like, I'm not like a red and gold. I'm more of a turquoise and black type of guy.
Great answer. Yeah. Great answer. So, folks, what we're gonna do on the next hour, trying to get a chance to invite more callers in for you, but the interview was going so well, and I must admit, I've interviewed a number of people before, and I'm not souping you up, as we said, from St. Louis. You're the best interview I've ever done. Don't tell Stanley that. Don't tell Stanley that. But
it's all good.
Yeah, I mean, you gave us some. Stanley is a great interview, but I've really enjoyed this immensely. I want to thank you. I want to thank my friend Teo Benka for making my "Get Your Bass On" theme song. And you got to promise me when you come back to St. Louis, you're going to let me get you the Emo's Pizza we talked about.
Yes. Yes, I'm super, super down. I'm super, super down. One thing before I go, is it okay if I give my band a shout out?
I want you to do that and tell people what kind of plans and things you got going ahead. Please do.
Yeah, well, I within the past 3 years, I've been working with a collective group of guys, and we call ourselves Rache, and we have turned into a band, and they've helped me put out my first project, which comes out January 2nd. Which is Friday. I have my album release party Friday in Dallas at 8 p.m. So it's called Three Links in Deep Ellum. And I want to say shout out to Rache, my family, my brothers, Ethan, Ben, Max. I love you guys. Thanks for helping me do everything. And Stanley, thanks for everything. And thank you, sir, for this wonderful interview. I've had a blast talking to you guys.
Well, Michael, so you blew it already. You're supposed to stop the sir stuff. It's just Kelvin. It's just Kelvin. But this
Just Kelvin? Okay, it's just Kelvin.
just Kelvin. So what I want you to do, Mike, I'll give you some information if you could